rise up, it's time to rise, yeah. Come with me, chain breakers, we breaking from poverty. Chain breakers, breaking from enemy. Chain breakers, breaking chains off of me, yeah.
Rising above the storm, we are free from bondage, free from harm. Chain breakers, that's who we are. Free from depression, suppression and oppression. Generational chain breakers. When we move, we are atmosphere shifters. Building legacies for families, paving the way for a destiny.
Rise up, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Rise up, oh yeah.
Listen, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am so happy to have tonight none other than attorney Joseph Madalon from the Madalon Law Firm on tonight's session of pre-show Rise Up. And he's actually one of our honorees this year. Guess which position for? The community pillar. Now, that is a position that we hold dear and near to our heart because it's those who make an impact in the community and beyond. Good evening, Joseph. How are you doing today?
Glenn, doing wonderful. Wishing you and everyone watching just a happy new year. I'm hoping 2024 is starting fabulously for you and everyone out there watching us tonight.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that. So, Mr. Joseph Malon, tell us more about yourself.
So, born and raised in St. Louis, I grew up to basically in the largest all Italian neighborhood in the United States. It's
Wait, you're Italian?
70,
I should have
yeah.
known.
Madalon is Venetian. So my family is from Venice, and the logo for our law firm is actually the symbol of Venice. So for those Christians
Oh,
out there listening, they're going to know the gospel writer St. Mark's symbol is the winged lion with a raised foot. And what you typically see St. Mark having his foot on is the Bible or the world. So what we did is we just took the winged lion, mirrored it, and dropped an M from Madalon in the middle, and that's our logo. It represents my hometown, my city, my people. And St. Louis, believe it or not, the largest Italian community. There's more Italians in one neighborhood in St. Louis than New York, New Jersey, anywhere in the United States. 70 square blocks. It's a famous, famous location called The Hill. It's so famous that Amazon Prime did a special on us called The Last Little Italy in America, The Hill, St. Louis, Missouri. Wonderful place to grow up. I grew up, 8 houses on the same street, Glenn. Let me tell you. Next door to me was my aunt and uncle on one side, my aunt and uncle on another, my grandma, another aunt, cousins. We all lived together in a row. We shared backyards. Every Sunday was down in grandma's basement. We would have lunch and dinner together, 70, 80 of us sometimes every weekend. It's an awesome way to grow up.
so that sounds like truly a family of legacy of memories. Because the way, as you were talking, it brought back flavors to your mind of all the good fellowship, the good family time, and of course, the good Italian meals.
Oh, listen, Italians never like to eat alone. If we have a piece of bread, we're sharing it. If we have a bottle of wine, we're pouring it. We communicate and we commune through food. It's one of our passions. They say to Italians will tell you to eat well is to be close to God, and it really is.
So, what was it like growing up in your family? And
Man, it was crazy. First off, I was a baby of four. I had all of my cousins were a little bit older than me. So everybody knew what I was doing. They knew when I was coming, they knew when I was going. I couldn't get away with nothing. But I had an ace in the hole. My nonna, which is Italian for grandma, oh, she just loved baby Joseph. And so nobody could say anything that Nona wasn't going to defend me on. So I had my one supporter who always had me. But it was great, cousins, aunts, uncles, every day I was around extended family. And because we combined our houses, we had a giant backyard with a huge patio. So we'd meet out on the patio when it was good weather. My dad loved to socialize. I mean, when I tell you, Glenn, he loved to socialize, we had a beer keg, a full keg on tap in my house, like a bar has, a giant metal keg, right? And everybody in the neighborhood would come over and sit in our backyard. And he would just hand out beer like it was his job. And he just, everybody just knew you come to our backyard, you hang out, the conversation's good. The friends are good. The beer is cold. And life was beautiful. It was a great way to grow up.
Wow. Someone just posted, wow, that is so funny. Laugh out loud.
Well, you know what's crazy is this. Italians back in the day, they used to get their beer from the saloon. So what happens Italians growing up is they have a little pail, like a bucket, and they used to
Mhm.
send the kids down to the saloon, and the kids would fill the bucket up and they'd bring the beer back to the house. So that's what my job was. And from the age of 5, I would have a foam mustache coming coming over, handing the little pail to my dad, and he would fill up everybody's cup. Man, it's just good memories, good times. Different. You can't get away with that today,
No,
But
no,
those
no,
days.
definitely, definitely not. So, when you actually attended last year's event briefly, what was your? Because I remember after during the intermission, we spoke for a brief moment. What was your impression of last year's event?
Oh man, Glenn, I dig what you're doing. So one of the things you talked about was growing up the way I grew up is creating a family legacy.
Hmm.
My family was very big on handling your business and getting to a place where you can provide for others. Handle your business and get your life to a place where you become a lender, not a borrower, right?
Uh-huh.
And then really start to establish the future for your family. I mean, we're talking about how do you create generations of wealth. So, Glenn, the fact that your event is teaching these concepts, it just hit home with me. So what do I do with my clients in my practice? I'm a personal injury attorney. When I settle cases, I usually give people more money than they've ever had in their life.
True.
So for accident cases, people leave my office with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of dollars. So I sit at the table with someone and I give them more money than they've ever had in their bank account at one time and more money than they ever will. So what do? We have this conversation like you're doing at your event. I educate them. You know what I tell them? My friend, how are you going to plant this seed? How is this money going to be more next year? Because if the answer is I'm buying a Louis Vuitton or a new car or we're going on a cruise, then next year your bank account is going to be the exact same place it is. This blessing will be gone. So what do? You'll love this, Glenn. I'm a huge fan of compound interest.
Oh gosh, yes.
So I grab their phone. I said, we're going to play a little game real quick. And I get out a compound interest calculator. Anyone can Google it. You can find it on MoneyChimp or NerdWallet or any of these websites. A compound interest calculator. And what it does is it says, how much money do you want to put in? What is your rate of return? And then are you going to make any additions? So I tell my clients, listen, you don't have to know anything about money to invest in the S&P 500. You can buy a simple fund called SPY, the SPY fund.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not a financial advisor, but this is what Warren Buffett tells people to do. Warren Buffett says, if you're not a professional investor, you should do one thing only with your money in the market. Don't pick stocks. Just invest every dollar you have in SPY. It
Hmm.
returns on average about 10% over 20 years. So I
Hmm.
type in 10%. So I say, my friend, I'm giving you this check for $180,000. I want you to tell me how much money you want to spend. You want to spend 30? You want to pay off some bills? You want to go on vacation? You want to buy good, spend 30. Give me 150. Now, you're 30 years old. What are we going to do? Let's put 150,000 into the SPY and let's not touch it until you retire. You're 30. Let's look at what it turns into when you're 65. The number is in the millions and it's making 10% a year. I said, if we take this 150 and put it away, you're going to be a multimillionaire by the time you're 65 and it's going to be earning 10% a year, which means now on $1 million, every million we have, you're automatically getting about 100,000 a year. You're never going to make that in your life. Now, let's do this. Let's say you don't need it because you don't need it. You didn't need this money. You have a job. I'm helping you recover for what was taken from you, your health, your lost wages, but you're doing fine without this money. So what if you never touched it? Then I show them that was 30 years, here's 40 years, here's 50 years. Glenn, before they're dead, we're at 20 million, 30 million earning. So now what I tell them is look what you can do for your children. You can have Johnson and Johnson money. You can have DuPont money. You can have Ford family money. If you just put this 150,000 away, and we don't have to start with that, we can start with 10,000, we can start with 5,000, because the miracle of compound interest is you just need time. So Glenn, what you guys are doing at Legacy, teaching people, one, how to start saving their money, two, how to start growing their money, and then three, how to start passing their money forward to generations. I tell people you can change the legacy of your family forever if you just put this money away and never touch it. Or, hell, we can just go to the club and blow it and have a good time. But your family ain't never going to change. Let's decide what you. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars or a nice Louis Vuitton. Why don't we put the money away? Phew. So I love what you're doing, and that's what I got from your event. To be honest with you, I got from your event the message that the sky's the limit with some very simple rules of discipline. Let's just learn them, what you're teaching, and lives change. So long answer to a short question, but I got excited, man.
Listen. You dropped some stuff. I didn't know you were the financial guru too. I'm like, what? Okay, now I see you. So I definitely got to call you for something else next year. Then maybe who never know? Because you just dropped out there the compound interest. Someone just put in here. I can't shift to my group, and someone wrote to here. How does this work? Sorry, I just joined compound interest. Oh boy, they just
Well,
joined.
okay. So this is a great story. So let me ask you a question for everyone who's listening. It's a famous story. Glenn knows this story. If I offered you $1 million today, anyone out there put your comments in, tell me what you would do. I'll pay you $1 million today, or I'll pay you $1 on the first of the month, and I'll double it every day until the end. So I'll give you $1 today, $2 tomorrow, $4, $8. What would you take? Would you take a million up front, or would you take $1 that doubles every day for 30 days?
I know what I would take. Someone
What are the
just says
what are they telling us?
in one person said investment. Not sure what that means.
So here's the numbers. $1 million up front is a million. So what happens when $1 doubles every day for 30 days? It becomes over 4 million.
Someone says $1 that doubles.
And it becomes over 4 million. Here's the deal. That's compound interest. Compound interest is when you start with something, you never touch it, and you gain interest. And then the original plus your interest gains more interest. It starts compounding, stacking on top like pancakes. Dollar, $2, $4, $8, $16, $32. It doesn't seem like a lot, but at the end of 30 days, it's over 4 million. It's magic. So that is the gift, the miracle of money that not enough people understand. We're talking about you can become worth. Glenn, do you tell the story about the guy from Delray Beach at UPS? You know that story?
No, I don't. Tell us.
Oh, I think his name is Johnson. I think his name is Mr. Johnson. Okay. This guy was true story. This guy's making, you guys can all Google this guy, UPS worker from Delray Beach, Florida. I think it's Delray. He died with 70 or 80 million dollars. Okay.
Hmm.
Here's what he did. He was making $14,000 a year, and he died with 70. There's scholarships named after him. He left a huge legacy. So what did he do? His friend told him just a simple principle. If you don't save 10% of what you make, then you're wasting your legacy. He said, I only make 14,000. 10% won't do nothing. The guy said, well, you need to start saving. He goes, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save 20%. So he saved $2,800 a year. And now he lived to almost 90. Remember, time matters. But just by putting away that little bit of money, it grew, it grew, it grew. And he ended up with, you'll look up the story. I think it's 70, 80, or 90 million. You'll read the story. It's a famous story. With pennies, he started with literally $2,800 a year. That's compound interest. It's unbelievable. So everybody thinks, man, I don't have enough money. How am I going to save? I'll tell you what, take the $5 or $6 or $7 you spend every day at Starbucks and just dump it in there. Stop doing Uber Eats. Man, I walk around my office. I have a big staff, you know. I have a nice law firm. We're very successful. We help a lot of people. I see my staff getting damn McDonald's delivered and Chick-fil-A delivered. So I go on Uber Eats. I want to know how much I pack my lunch every day because I want to eat healthy. I want to control my calories. And I really don't have time to be figuring out where I'm going to get my food from. That's just a waste of time for me. So I pack it, I go, I'm good. So I looked up Chick-fil-A. I'm like, how much are we paying to deliver a chicken sandwich? Man, I mean, if I
Yeah,
did the drive-through, it's like $6. If I get it delivered to my office, by the time I do delivery fee, surcharge, tip, it's like $20, 25
yes,
bucks for
yes.
yes. So if you want to know where to get $2,800 a year to save, stop Uber Eats and stop Chick-fil-A, Uber Eats, and let me tell you, you're paid.
Someone just posted, "Can we have you next year as a speaker? Because they love your energy."
Listen, man, if
And
Glenn invites me and my wife lets me come, I'm there. I'm with you.
oh wow, someone else said, "I do my budgeting clients when I show them how much money they spend on DoorDash, they ready to pass out."
Yes. Oh, true. Facts.
Listen, I'm telling you, this legacy conference as of last year, the name has been changed now to Rise Up Wealth Summit. The reason why we changed it was the first part, Rise Up. It's time to rise up from where we were before and go a different level. Wealth is not only a catchword, but think about it, we're talking about generational wealth, building wealth to pass on from generation to generation. Last year's theme was generational chain breaker. And how I got that theme, I was in prayer. I was asking God, well, God, I'm 40 X years old, and I need to know what am I supposed to do in my life. I have many more years to go, but what there's a book that by a famous speaker that says, "What on earth am I here for?" So I started asking God that, and he says, generational chain breaker. I say, okay. He said, every one of us needs to be generational chain breakers to break the chains of the past, to move forward, prepare and lay a great foundation for our children's children. As your man of faith, you always talk about leaving a generation for your children's children. I believe in passing that to 400. You talked about it before with the major companies that had wealth.
Yeah. These
They
names,
passed on with
yeah, you look at these family names that have been around, right? You look at the
hundreds.
Carnegies, the
Yes,
Rockefellers. You know, I love that story, The Men Who Built America. You know, it's
yes,
on the History Channel. You get to see how America really, what's our true history of business and legacy. But the beauty of life for us is nobody has to be John Rockefeller. Nobody has to be some brilliant oil baron. We don't even have to have a good idea. I'm trying to explain this, Glenn. Like, look, I work hard. I try a lot of cases. What I do is very difficult. To do what I do on a daily basis, you have to be a different kind of person, you know? But to become stupid rich, all you have to do is save $2,800 a year and not spend it and let the miracle of compound interest work. So I think what's beautiful about wealth is it's not a man's game. It's not a rich man's game. It's just a simple strategic discipline that practiced over time has amazing rewards. Glenn, there's this tree. I forget the name of the tree, but it's like a version of the palm tree. I don't know if you heard
hmm
this story, but when
hmm
the farmers plant, oh, it's the bamboo tree. It's the
yes,
miracle of the okay, okay.
yes.
So this is totally great story, right? So if those of you who don't know how bamboo grows, this story is awesome. There's a super bamboo tree that they can use for furniture, to build their houses, do everything, right? So when they plant this tree, it grows underground for 5 years. They water it, they go all the time and take care of it, but they can't see it. And then in 1 year, after it's been sitting there for 5 years, they don't even know if the seed is dead. If a raccoon came along and ate it, they just water it every day. While it's growing underground for 5 years, in 1 year, it shoots up like 20, 30 feet. And within 5 years, it's almost 100 feet tall. But for the first 5 years, it didn't grow at all. That's the wealth game. The wealth game is you put away some pennies, you put away some pennies, it doesn't seem like anything. Time passes, you think it's not going anywhere, and then your tree is starting to grow, and then boom, it explodes. And before you know it, you have this. So that's what I love about wealth, you know? I mean, I think we look at Bill Gates or Elon Musk, or you think about somebody like Denzel Washington, so super talented, and you're like, of course they're super rich. Look at how smart these guys are. But you don't have to be
Hmm.
smart. Look, my dad was a plumber, right? Awesome story, right? So my dad was a plumber. He knew that plumbing was never going to pay enough money. So my mom was a school teacher who stayed home and raised us. So he told my mom, I want you to stay home and raise the kids. I want to provide for you. But he's a plumber, so he's not making crazy money. There's four kids, four of us, and he takes care of my grandma, sponsoring her, right? So there's not a lot of money to go around. Long story short, he realizes he has to start investing. He's got to figure out wealth in order for him and his family to have legacy. So he starts investing his money with brokers. He starts hiring financial advisors. So what happens? The age of 38, he's been giving them his money for now 7, 8 years, and they lose it all. He's got like nothing. He's exhausted. He's frustrated. He knows he can't trust them. Now, my dad was held back in the second grade and had to drop out of high school because his father got sick. So my dad really is not an educated guy, right? He finished trade school to become a plumber, but he realized he was doing the right thing, but he had the wrong people managing his money. So
Oh
what he
wow.
said at the age of 38. Remember, he got held back in the second grade and didn't finish high school. But at the age of 38, he said, I'm going to figure out how to invest. And I'm not going to let any of these fools ever lose my money again. And he bought a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. And he woke up every morning at 5 a.m. before we got up to go to school at 6. And for an hour, he read the paper. He didn't understand what he was reading. He didn't know how it worked, but he started just reading it and looking at the stocks and trying to figure out what they were doing in the market. When he passed away, he was able to leave us. He was able to leave us an inheritance. And he never would have done that on a plumber's salary. I mean, on a plumber's salary, who knows? We may still have had a mortgage on the house. But
Yes.
just from his dedication and self teaching, he was able to put our family in a great place, you know? And that was just discipline. And again, he's not a smart guy. He wasn't Bill Gates. This wasn't Elon Musk. This isn't talent like Denzel Washington. He couldn't sing to save his life, right? This guy has no real skill. He could come and fix your toilet. So I just want to encourage everybody and tell you, look, man, when we're talking about you becoming worth $100 million, I want to tell you, look up the story of Mr. Johnson in Delray Beach for UPS worker dying with 70 or 80 million dollars and know that if that guy can do it,
You
you
can
should
do
start doing it, man. Yeah, it's fun too. Listen, it's fun. It's fun, but you know also something, Glenn? For us to be successful, we have to be willing to be a little bit different than everybody else. Right? So you start to realize like one of the messages that we have to have is that you know, in our soul, we have to be very comfortable by making decisions other people won't make. So, hey, sometimes you got to tell people, I'm not going to be able to go to that fancy dinner, or I'm going to tell people that I'm not going to be taking that extra vacation or flying a special flight. But in the end, my goodness. So, guys, let me tell you why I have you here. A story about a case that I finished. So, just to let you know sort of what happens on my end of the world, I do personal injury and I handle a lot of cases from the smallest parking lot accident to the most significant, severe, catastrophic paralysis and death case you can imagine. So I had a really horrific case on a famous cruise line. My case was a young man, 23-year-old, fell down a flight of stairs and he started bleeding from his eyes, his nose, and his ears. He had a very, very severe brain injury immediately on the ship. They had to airlift him from the Bahamas back to the United States. He wasn't going to live. 45, 46 days in ICU in a coma. This case was just devastating. Spent almost every day at the hospital with his mom. Was really touch and go. So we get all the records from the cruise ship. And of course, they had sold him an unlimited drink package. So how many drinks do you think were on his bill for the day? He fell at about 8 o'clock at night. So he'd been drinking all day. Tell me in the comments, how many drinks do you think that he had run up in that day? Four, five, you know, how many would be a lot of drinks for you to say this guy was probably drunk when he fell?
I think he's probably at number 7 by that time.
Right. So they had 13 Long Island iced teas on his bill.
Oh, someone just said
13.
15. Someone said 15 a while ago. They went close.
Okay, so 15 that's brilliant. Whoever said that is a cruiser because cruise lines sell unlimited drink packages and the cutoff number is 15. That's the most you can get without getting stopped. So that person cruises. So listen to this, Glenn. So I said, Long Island iced tea, it's the strongest drink you can make. It has 4 shots of liquor in it: tequila, rum, vodka, triple seven. It's a serious drink. Long story short, I get the records. I get the head of corporate for this international cruise line in a deposition. The head of beverage. We're talking about an international CEO level position.
Uh-huh.
And I get them to explain how it works. So what do they tell me? They tell me it's impossible for a stranger to use your drink card because your picture comes up on the screen. So I lock them in the deposition. I make them repeat it. I go through the whole process. But guess what they didn't know I had the whole time, Glenn? I know my guy fell at 7 p.m. and I know that he was airlifted at 7:15. Guess when the 13th drink was bought at the bar? After 8 o'clock.
Wow.
I was able to prove they planted a drink on his card. And if they planted one, don't you think they planted more? I mean, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about a case, we're talking not about a million or 2 million or $3 million case. We're talking about real money, major money. So when I broke that case wide open, they couldn't write a check big enough because I caught them in a lie, right? I love this stuff. I mean, I love this stuff. This is sort of what gets me so excited is I get to play chess for my clients at the highest level because the insurance companies and these big corporations, they don't just make a lot of money, they spend a lot of money figuring out how to keep it. They spend a lot of time sending out surveillance and private detectives to follow my clients around, coming up with schemes, figuring out how to make our evidence look poor. So I spend a lot of time this. I love it, let me tell you. And what we did for his family was amazing. We were able to provide for him and all the care he's going to need and anything that he could ever want in life for the rest of his life. It was truly a blessing on that family. It was really
So,
awesome.
so one of the things that I met your aide before. We met at a previous event. He came out, did a good presentation, and then we had breakfast one day, and he was telling about your story. I was like, we see Madalon as Madalon, the attorney, the guy who does all this great stuff to help people get their money when they get injured. Like, I pray I never get injured, but if I do, I'm calling you right now. But
Thank you, Glenn.
seriously, what makes you? Because one of the things I found about you, you're very active in the community. You seem to be the Batman, the one who goes behind the scenes and does the work, but no one always knows what you're doing. Meaning you're
Man,
just
it's funny
the,
it's
the
funny you
servant
say
leader,
that.
the servant
Yeah,
leader.
yeah. So that's wild that happened because that's a miracle of God. I'll tell you what. When I was younger, I was bold and brash. I was very good at sports. Um, And listen, I like the peacock then, but as I got older, I don't even post on social media. I don't tell people anything I'm doing. I don't show up and take credit. I very rarely accept awards. I just love. So you're right. I do all this stuff in the dark. I'm the guy, the Batman. You don't see me. You don't see. But so one of the things I did, and I have a huge love for ministry. I really do. My faith and my relationship with God is is just precious. I can't even tell you how much I cherish it. And it's carried me through so many situations. I mean, I just get tingles up and down my back. It makes me so happy. You know, I just really am grateful for my life. So, the people who really pour into other people are the ministers in this community. And sometimes preachers get a bad name. You know, they make
Mhm.
fun of Creflo, or they're giving TD Jakes a hard time now. They say Joel Osteen in his Ferrari. But listen, very few ministers are not bivocational. Everybody, you're going to church locally here, if it's not Calvary or some massive Antioch, all those pastors are working two jobs. They are doing this because they just are giving from their spirit. They're barely keeping the lights on. They just want to share God's good word. So I want to do something great for them, because I really think you should do what you love with who you love. And I wanted to be around men and women who I respected, and men and women who I knew were doing good, doing better. And I wanted to give them, because nobody gives them nothing but grief. That's all they get is grief, right? So I said, all right. So I created a TV show. And I paid for a half an hour slot on cable. It was network, the Ion Network. I bought, you know, the same way Joel Osteen does Channel 7 on Sunday. I bought a
Yeah.
half an hour. I bought it 5 days a week. I put 200 pastors from South Miami, all the way from Homestead up to, not, we didn't get to Port St. Lucie, like Riviera Beach, north of Palm Beach. I made some amazing friends, and we just developed this relationship in ministry. I didn't put my name on the show. I didn't never said a word about my law firm. I never even really told the pastors much about me. I just told them I wanted to do something beautiful for them. I did it all for free. You know, I paid for everything. I paid for the donuts at the filming, the makeup lady. Nobody, you know, and I loved it. And I made some awesome friends and relationships, you know. And so I speak to other lawyers about this concept. And the concept I speak to other lawyers about is, when you want to build, the first thing that you need to do when you're building anything is figure out what you love and spend your time doing that. Because if you're doing what you love for marketing, if I like hockey, then I'm going to want to be at the hockey game. I'm going to want to be at the hockey rink. If I like poker, I'm going to want to be at the Hard Rock. Me, I just love men and women who are doing ministry. So it was a joy to give up hours. I mean, we would film for 2 days straight once a month. I'd take a week to plan it, 2 days. So I was out of the office for like 7 working days. That's hard to run a business, right? But it wasn't hard because I was so amped to do it. And then I'm around people I love. So if you do what you love and you get around people that you love and respect, man, everything flows. It was awesome.
You just said something to me that I've been telling my friends, and I've heard that many times. If you do what you love and stop chasing money, everything will come together. Like, you don't have to chase money. Do what you love. Do what you're passionate about. Like, before we came on live, I was talking about I enjoy putting on this event. Is it fun all the time? No. Is it painful? Yes. But guess what? When we turn the lights on and everyone's in the room and they're enjoying, and I can see the faces of people changing, like they're growing, their mind is moving, and you feel like, wow, to God be the glory. I've done my godly duty, which is my purpose, my passion, to raise up a nation of generational chain breakers, people who are going to change their generational tree. I may never become well. I decree I will become a millionaire. But if I never become a millionaire and I raise up multiple millionaires after me, after I'm gone, I've done my perfect will. My fingerprint is left behind. That's all I tell people all the time. There's a song by it's sung by Beyonce. She didn't write the song, I discovered, but it's called "I Was Here." If anyone sit down and listen to that song, like close your eyes and just listen to the words. It's talking about I lived, I died, I was here. And the whole music flow is talking about leaving a legacy, leaving something worth left behind that can be passed on from one person to the next to the next. Listen, this is why attorney Joseph Madalon is one of our honorees. See, I heard about him, never actually got a chance to talk to him in this capacity. And tonight I'm seeing a totally different I'm going back to your aide and told me he lied to me because he didn't tell me all this now. So he was right. You're like a Batman. You're like the onion. You got to peel back and peel back to find the real, authentic Joseph Mallow. And tonight, people are saying that who is this? Who is this guy? One guy said, "I needed you when I had my accident. Where were you in my life? All my life."
Listen, you tell everyone you have any problems, you're not alone with Joseph Madalon. You got me. You got a friend in me. If you need help with anything, you got a friend in me.
Trust me. So I know we're coming close to the time. I know you can like get spend time with your family. So you're a family man, correct?
4 kids.
Wait, 4 kids?
Four kids. And I would have
Italiano,
listen,
Italiano.
I'd have 40 if my wife let me. We tried
Well,
for
I know.
6. We got 3 in a row. We had a little break and then we hit the fourth, but we really were looking for 6 kids. I mean, I love big families, Glenn.
Italian. That's all I've ever heard. Italian love big families.
Yes.
So, what is your fondest memory of your nona? Because I know going in, I'm from the Caribbean. So for me, Italian families resembles the Caribbean in terms of the generational household, where the grandmother is raising the grandchildren and she's influencing their lives. But you talked about when you talk about Nona, your face expression changed. Like she was the pillar in your family and your life.
So best buddy, I used to play cards with her almost every day. We played an Italian game called Pinochle. My grandma was fat. She was like 4'8", 300 pounds. She was so big that she made her own dresses. So when I tell you I was her best buddy, I hung out by her side all the time. And she made the best homemade raviolis. But to make raviolis, you got to roll the dough, you got to put on your meat and spinach, you got to put the top layer of dough on, and then your second roller is a cutter. So she had this long rolling pin. Now, I want to tell you, when I tell you my grandma was round, she was like a ball, right? So her belly would hit the table, and her little arms could only stretch far enough to roll a ravioli and a half at a time. So I was the ravioli guy, right? So what would happen? She'd roll a ravioli and a half, and then she'd say, Pepe, which is Giuseppe, right? Joey, Giuseppe, Joey, Pepe, get the raviolis. I'm a little, little runt, right, at the time. So I'd run over to the table, I'd pull the row of raviolis over, I'd move the dough closer so she could roll the next row, and we had this whole little game where I was the ravioli boy. And we just, Glenn, when I tell you, I think about her. I think about her little round belly hitting the table. I think about her sharp arms aren't long enough to roll the raviolis. Man, I miss her. She was too cool. That was my buddy. She was awesome. Best
And
buddy.
and that is generational legacy right there.
Yes. Yeah, good
To
stuff,
pass
man.
on to your 4 children now. No
Oh,
question, do you cook, sir? It's Italiano. Do you cook?
so listen to this, man. So I cook on Sundays with the kids. We give my wife the day off. We try to make her something nice. So we've gotten into different cultures. We started with Japanese food because I really didn't understand the ingredients, and now we've been on African food. So this Sunday, my 11-year-old daughter made something called injera, which is
Yes.
Ethiopian flatbread. We made it from scratch. We got the flour, the teff flour. We used the yeast, let it rise, skimmed it, made it was awesome. So my 11-year-old and I made injera bread for dinner on Sunday. And then my 12-year-old son and I made a beef tangine, which is a Moroccan beef stew. It was about 5 hours to cook. It had raisins, apricots, garbanzo beans, tomatoes, beef. I was his sous chef. He got the recipe. I chopped up his onions for him. I got his tomatoes ready. Glenn, when I tell you, if you tasted this kid's beef tangine with the injera, you pulled the bread and scooped it up. We ate with our hands. Oh my gosh. I took some to my office today. Because it was so good. I took it to my office, fell over. They couldn't believe it. They're like, who made this? Where do you even get it? What even is this? So not only do I cook, but it's how I spend time with the kids, and man, do I love it.
I asked that question on purpose because I know where it would end up because Italian, basically, it's Nona. So a lot of us keep thinking that legacy is all about wealth, like we talk about tonight, wealth and money and passed on something tangible. But what about the traditions of our parents and spend time with our children, the legacy of time. We tend to be chasing the almighty dollar, work, 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 come home, we're tired, kiss our kids and go to bed. But you've actually shown us tonight that you're teaching your children, one, how to cook. You're passing on traditions of your nona to them, that when they become adults and have their own children, they can go back and say, I remember when Grandpa Jojo or Grandpa Pepe, as you mentioned, will taught me how to cook this meal. Now, long after you're gone, the legacy of Nona has passed on to you, to your children, to your grandchildren. It's just going to be one amazing, and you're teaching them other cultures outside of your Italian culture.
Well, I don't know. You've never met my wife. My wife's a surgeon. She's a general and reconstructive surgeon at Jackson, but she's Nigerian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I cook more African food for her than she cooks for me. True story. But she tells me, she goes, she tasted that my son's Moroccan beef tangine. She said, Joseph, if my family in London, she grew up in London, she said, if my family in London tasted this, they would open a restaurant for him. It was so good. So she's loving it. I'm loving it. It's awesome, man. And you nailed it, Glenn. It's really all of it boils down to taking care of the people we love, taking care of each other, and creating great memories and experience. That's the real legacy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight as we close this chapter off, you're going to get to meet Joseph Madalon at the event. The catch is you got to be there to meet him. And we have early bird special is ending. It had to end sometime, so it's now ending on February 18th. So you got to get your tickets now before the prices go up, because they are going up pretty fast. This event, Rise Up Wealth Summit, is for the family. We actually opened up a new sector. So at the day of the event, you're going to be actually attending 2 events happening simultaneously. It's going to be Rise Up for the adults, and another room all together in another amphitheater room, like a stadium. There will be the teens version, where all the young people from the 8th grade up to high school will be in that room being taught by 6-figure earners about money, financial, starting a business plan, and even having a pitch competition. Kids are welcome. So this is an entire family day that they come out there. They gain the wisdom to take back home. We have people who came last year who said that their generational family has changed. Their kids are now thinking better, more about money, compound interest. They learned about that last year, and they're like, wait, what? They never got taught that in school, which is kind of bizarre. There's everything about everything in school, but nothing about how to survive once you leave and enter the real world with money, knowing that money is the very thing that will take us or break us. So tonight, we want to thank you and honor you, Joseph Madalon, for being our community pillar, the first one for 2024. Because of your community excellence that you've passed on, not only to your community, but to the church, to your children. There is a soft spot in your heart when it comes to kids. You like to help the people who have been downtrodden, people who can't. People come to your office and say, I don't have money to pay for this. Okay, let's see what we can do, because that's the person you are. Everything you do comes from your heart of passion. And I thank you for being just who you are, your authentic self.
Thank you, Glenn.
So definitely, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful night tonight. If you want to come to the event, you can definitely get tickets at riseupwealthsummit.com. riseupwealthsummit.com. You will see Mr. Madalon and a slew of other. We have over 12 honorees this year. The first was Kai. My wife said, are you crazy? We don't have like 10, like 5. You've been at 12 this year. Like, what were you thinking? I wasn't. I just saw people. There's a phrase my mom taught me and the grandmother taught me: give people flowers while they can still smell it. I would never want to take a chance and say, I'll wait till next year, and that person doesn't survive for next year. I want to give people their flowers today. Honor them now, because they deserve to be honored. So, Mr. Madalon, thank you for all you do in the community. I'm going to share your information now for those who want to reach out to you for any of the services that you offer. Well, before we close out, what services do you offer as an attorney?
We're an injury firm. So we handle cases from, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, but we handle cases from Florida to California, Auto accident, slip and fall, medical malpractice, product liability, wrongful death, anything from the smallest to the largest.
Oh, wow. Okay. And your website is on the screen, madalonlaw.com. And you can reach out to him definitely and connect. He would like to hear more about you.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful night. There's a few last comments. Let's see what they're saying. One says peace, love, strength, light, and light for you, sir. They definitely love you. You're one of the best ones we had so far. Everyone's loving on you tonight, sir. Well, definitely, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful night. Do take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.